Welcome back to the third episode of the Take It or Leave It podcast. Today we're going to be talking about cancel culture with people like influencers, content creators, YouTubers, and also brands. I'm Giovanna.
And I'm Samantha.
I think cancel culture is too extreme depending on certain instances.
I think that sometimes it's necessary, absolutely. And there are some gray areas, so this should be a interesting conversation today. So do you want to start off?
Yeah, I just think, no matter what, if it's a brand, if it's a person, content creator, influencer, YouTuber, whatever it is, or even what they do, that we can't, our own opinion can't control what everyone does. They're going to get canceled. They're going to stop posting. For example, TikTok. That's where we see it a lot. They're going to get canceled. They're going to stop posting for a week. They're going to come out with an apology. Then they're going to give it a few more days, and then they're going to hop back on the platform like nothing. I don't know if you saw the Avery Woods drama or if you know who she is. She's a podcaster, and she did a podcast with Harry Drowsy. And whatever they were talking about, I didn't watch the podcast, but she made inappropriate jokes about religion and sexual assault and Jesus and stuff like that. And she got canceled, took a break, turned her comments off, censored her comments. You know how on TikTok you can censor certain words from the comments. Did that, then came out with an apology, which was a half-ass apology. I'm sorry that you felt this way, but my beliefs don't align with everyone's, and that's just my beliefs and my opinion, talking about her religion journey and stuff like that. And then gave it a few more days, came on TikTok. Now she's packing for her and her kids to go on vacation, and she's still getting views. She's still getting the same income she was getting before. She still has a podcast. Nothing changed. And even if I don't agree with it or you don't agree with it, we just can't control what everyone is doing, and nothing's going to stop these people.
Right. Well, let's hash out what is cancel culture, because there are so many words that get thrown around, like woke and canceled and this and that. So cancel culture, the actual definition of it is the attitude within a community that call for the withdrawal of support from a public figure. So getting them kicked out of an acting role, a ban on playing an artist's music, removal from social media, like you said, usually in response to an accusation of a socially unacceptable action or comment. So really, it's all relative. It really just depends on an individual person's beliefs or community's beliefs. But I mean, I think a lot of the time it is totally necessary. I think, honestly, I'll be so for real, people need to shut the fuck up. I can't, there's so many different things that I'm nobody cares. Nobody, just stop talking. Just cancel this bitch. It's just so, it's just becoming so much because everybody wants to have an opinion. And I think that's where this cancel culture comes from. It's people want to have an opinion. Well, you know what? Can't cancel them. I don't want to hear about it anymore. I don't want to hear about it. I think it gets thrown around as a word so easily. I think that's the problem too with social media. The words that are so extreme, like assault and all of these words, they get thrown around like it's nothing, and we get desensitized to it. So when something really does happen where it's somebody in the public eye is really doing something bad, the whole Harvey Weinstein thing, the whole Me Too movement came out of that. I think that that's a great use of free speech and people getting canceled and people using their platform to bring things to light and get people shunned from their industry. I think that was a great use of that. Same thing with Jeffrey Epstein and his island. I think that was a great use of being canceled and being exposing. Of course, that's a huge level of and a whole other world of shit. But I think those are the kind of things that you know what? Yeah, it's necessary. It's absolutely necessary. It's not necessary. It's a social media influencer. I don't give a fuck what you do in your everyday life. We're going to cancel somebody for saying something and speaking their mind and they're just going to go back to doing their normal routine. No, you use it for what it matters for, because it's either going to make these huge, people try to say oh, cancel this one and cancel that one, but it doesn't really work until you get the right people on board with it. So if you're going to do it right, first of all, because what happened with Morgan Wallen, when Morgan Wallen said a slur, he was in public, yeah, but TMZ was recording him in his own backyard. He said this word. It was all over the news, all over the news. It only made him popular, more popular than he was. So that's why it's like, sure, maybe it does get a little extreme, but maybe sometimes it's necessary. Maybe sometimes it's for good. Maybe sometimes it's for bad. But I just think that sometimes it really is like, okay, yeah, like maybe they deserve to get slapped in the face a little bit. We are in a whole other world with social media. It's not like a newspaper where it's going to be like, oh, they're going to write a story about it and then it's going to be gone in a week and the next story will come out. Social media is something that's forever. And I think that when you have this reputation of constantly, I can't even tell you how many times I've seen repeated YouTubers or influencers. It's constantly an apology video. You know what? Go hide for a little bit. The people have canceled you. They've passed their judgment on you. Go hide, find something else to do, but they just can't because they like to hear themselves talk. They like to hear all of this stuff. They like the chaos. And it's like, okay, well, they're going to come back and just cancel you again and cancel you again. It's just going to constantly keep happening. And this comes from this far left mindset of like, everybody's a victim. Everybody's always a victim. You can constantly try and do the right thing and it's still you're not doing something. Now you have the far right saying, well, you know, if you canceled everybody over here for this, why can't we reverse the narrative on you and get you canceled? Cancel them. If you reverse it, take a step back and just look at the chaos you're really causing for no reason. I feel like there's so many situations that like I can't even bring up because then this would become like a political podcast. And we're supposed to keep it light and keep it fun. But I mean, most likely people have made their judgment and there's not a whole lot of coming back from it. And even if you do, I feel like it's just never the same. The bad taste is in your mouth. You already passed your judgment on this person. Like this whole thing with James Charles. I remember when he was with, what was her name?
His friend?
Tati
Westbrook.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. This whole drama that he was out at a birthday party of hers saying all this like sexual stuff and making all these jokes, and she made a video about it and how disrespectful it was. And I remember for a long time I was like, okay, like I used to watch him all the time. Now that's disgusting. I'm never going to watch him again. And I don't watch him anymore because I'm like, okay, I've made my judgment on you. I'm good. I don't need you anymore. Like, and I really do think people do take it to an extreme, but sometimes I think it's necessary. So I don't know. I just like think there are so many people I can name that it's just like, can you just stop talking?
Well, that's the thing is I feel like, don't get me wrong, in certain instances it is necessary and we need it, like the examples you were giving before. But with someone like James Charles, even if you watched him, now you have bad taste in your mouth and you stopped, or if you just like never watched him, but with social media now he's popping up on your For You page and like the algorithm and what it is, it's hard to kind of control these influencers and change what's been like the normal for so long. Like if someone's watching James Charles every day and then something happens, they don't want to watch him anymore, you know how much it's going to take to like get him off like your For You page or like your algorithm on TikTok, because it's just like what you're so used to every day. And then I think it also depends on the instance and also the viewer, because some people might take whatever happened in a certain instance and say, okay, that left a bad taste in my mouth. I never want to watch that person again. Some people might look at it and say, okay, well, I've done things before in the past that I regret and I've now grown from that and I realized what I was doing was wrong. Like, do you know Brooke Schofield and the girl that Tana Mojo did her podcast with?
Yeah.
So, like, she got canceled for a bunch of these tweets that had come back to light of her saying racial slurs and basically just being racist. And then it kind of got flipped and she said how she was going through a tough time in her life and how her grandparents who she lived with, like that was what she was raised off of and that's all she knew. So that's how she acted. They were from like probably over 10 years ago, maybe 10 years ago. And there's also, I don't know if you know Mackenzie Rencher. She, her boyfriend played football at Clemson. It was a big friend group, the Wives of Death Valley, and all their boyfriends played at Clemson. And she's white. She's with her husband's African American. They have 2 babies mixed. And she gets a lot of comments on her TikTok about like being a white woman with a black man and all of that kind of stuff. And she made a video recently, I actually saw it over the weekend, saying how all these comments are disturbing and wrong, and like she hates to see them, and she could just turn off her comments or block out certain things, but she doesn't, because she believes these people genuinely like need to be educated and see what their words are doing to people. And in the video, she also says how there was a time where she was uneducated and she didn't know right from wrong, and she's done things she regrets. And I guess I'm not even from just my perspective, but just with certain instances and everyday life. Like, I feel like for her, for example, if she was genuinely like a racist person, say she said a racial slur way back when, and that's what she's referring to. I'm not saying she did. I'm just saying, like, example, hypothetical. If she said a racial slur in her past, growing up, wherever she's from, that's what she was around, and now she's grown 10 plus years, and her husband is African American. She has mixed babies who are African American, and now she's saying like she has grown and she's educated and she sees where her wrongdoings were and regrets them deeply. I think in that instance, like, people want to be like, oh, you're canceled, you're canceled, you're canceled, just because everyone's canceled for everything now. Everything they do is like canceled. So she's openly admitting like she's said things like this in the past, had a different view or wasn't educated in the past, and now people want to be like, you're canceled, but she's using it as a way to tell others like, you need to be educated too. But then like, if it was, they found tweets of her saying this and it came to light, she would still be canceled. So I feel like no matter which way it goes with certain instances or people, it's just like everyone is always you're not going to like what everyone does or says, and everyone's always finding ways to cancel people or to like boycott brands and do all this stuff. But it's like, where is the fine line drawn where it's like, this is actually worth someone being canceled, and like, this isn't? Like, this is just someone who is saying she grew from something and was educated and now is married with kids, but now like she's canceled for being honest about like her past and like things she's done or said. You know what I mean?
Right. But like, why are we bringing up old stuff then? It's like when, I don't know, there was a joke of Justin Bieber when he was like 13 and he was saying a racial slur in an interview backstage at some concert, some tour, some radio thing, whatever the hell it was. It's almost like, why are we bringing up old shit when why wasn't he canceled back then? Do you know what I mean? Like, why? Like,
yeah.
What I'm saying is, this whole movement, it's almost like people want to go back and forth on it. It's like, if you want to cancel something, cancel it. Do it. Have the balls to do it. Don't then say, oh, well, they've changed. They've changed and they're different now and they've gone to therapy. No, they were canceled a week ago. Stick with your decision, dude. Like,
yeah, but like, if you cancel them, like, the whole world may not agree with you. So then like, are they really canceled? Like, that's my thing, is like, I could disagree with something and say this person's canceled
in your mind.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But then in someone else's, they don't see an issue with anything they've done. So it's like, are they really canceled? Even the Morgan Wallen thing. Say you like Morgan Wallen, there's a video of him saying a racial slur. You're never going to listen to Morgan Wallen again?
Not me personally, no.
But there's people who are.
Right, because I have my own opinions and beliefs. But I'm saying, as far as like the bigger majority, now you're making excuses almost. It's like, well, they've gone to therapy and they're better now. Or they have a mental health problem and that's what caused them to do that. So no, we can't cancel them. We can't. Just do it, dude. If you're going to do it to one, do it to the other. That's my thing, is that people want to pick and choose no matter what it is, whether it's politics, music, art, movies, whatever. they'll praise somebody for doing one thing because they look a certain way or they come from a certain background or they've spoken about certain things. And then they'll absolutely tear apart somebody else for doing the exact same thing. If you're going to have the balls to do it to one, do it to the other. That's like the mentality of the generation that I just can't stand. It's like everybody wants to stand for something, but they don't quite know what it is. They don't quite know. They're almost putting themselves in a box. It's like for so long, everybody wanted to break out of the box. Everybody wanted to be different. Everybody wanted to have their own opinions and this, that, or whatever. But then you go on social media, see somebody's canceled, and you're like, oh yeah, like they're canceled. But then somebody else does something and you're like, oh no, we can't do that to them. We can't. But they did the same thing as this other person. No, but the majority says I have to think this way, so that's how I'm going to think.
Well, I think I do agree with, I think that's the issue with society and social media and things trending and stuff like that, because you're just hopping on a bandwagon and following what everyone else is doing. So it's like if your friends are saying this is wrong, then now you're going to say this is wrong. But if they're saying this isn't wrong, then you're going to say this is not wrong. So I think cancel culture is necessary, but everyone needs to find the right line of what cancel culture is, why we have it, what it's about, and what it's for.
So you agree with me then?
Well, it's in certain instances.
Right.
It's like reading a book. It's like reading a book and there's a word that has multiple definitions, and now we're understanding the sentence differently. Mm-hmm. Because even certain languages, my sister, we're Puerto Rican, her boyfriend is Salvadorian. My sister thought her boyfriend's parents were saying, "Where's the monkey?" But they were saying, "Where's the little girl?" Mm-hmm. So there's Spanish words that are used and use the same word but mean different things. And I think that's where cancel culture gets hard, because different people take it as different things. Do I think it's necessary in certain instances? Yes. But do I think with other instances it's all right, now we're being dramatic? Yes.
Yeah, I think it is really tough. I think it's really tough, but I'm still standing on the side of if you're gonna do it to one, do it to the other. Don't just do it to one because you like them better or because they believe the same thing you believe. Because all of a sudden, when it's something that they agree with, it's not a problem.
Yeah, but that's in reality, it's reality is never gonna be that way.
Yeah. And that's the problem with this generation, though. Nobody knows about time or place anymore. Nobody knows about time or place. And I think that's why people are canceling other people, because they don't know what to do.
Yeah.
Because it's ignorance. They don't know what they're standing for. They don't know what they're talking about. So you know what? If you're going to do it to one, do it to the other. Cancel them.
Well, that's why even my friends, they're say with politics, it's a house divided. And sometimes one is talking and I'm just yeah, because I don't whatever I feel and I believe is my problem. I don't need to discuss it with you, and you, because I know everyone has different opinions, and what is that going to do? Cause a fight? I'm good. So I'll just be yeah, I get it. But now the person on the opposite end is talking and I'm still yeah, I get it. Now if those were in text form and I was an influencer, so just say that. Say I was an influencer, those were in text form, and one was saying they believe this, and that. And I was yeah, I get that. I understand. And now that got posted on social media. And keep in mind, I'm a big influencer. Now that's on social media. Now I'm canceled. Because not everyone would agree with my opinion, even if I'm just saying, yeah, sure, to not really feed into it or give my actual opinion. But because that's what we have in text proof, and now it's on social media, and I'm popular, I'm big, now I'm canceled. But I'm canceled for what? Literally for what?
It's almost like you can't win. You can't win, because I think there are some things that have, I mean, even me, it almost you almost live in fear. Because I mean, I feel ever since we've had phones, when we were little, not little, but middle school, high school age, we always heard stories of be careful what you post, be careful what you say, because it always comes back to bite you in the ass, and it does, clearly.
Yeah.
So I feel cancel culture can be good with some things, because it kind of is a warning label of like, this is what could happen to you. You could lose everything. And like, there is that little bit of fear of like, oh shit, if I say this, am I going to like feel the repercussions of it? Especially somebody like me who wants to be in the public eye and wants to do something that requires me to know a lot of people. It's almost like, all right, well, if that happened to that person, then maybe I shouldn't say anything. I mean, I know like the Dixie Chicks, they were like super, super popular back in the 90s and early 2000s, country group, three girls. They did some kind of show in Texas. Mind you, here comes the time and place thing again. They're in Texas doing a country music festival and they start bashing President Bush in Texas. What were you thinking, first of all? You're in Texas at a country music festival and you want to talk politics? So that kind of became like the poster story for women in country music, especially not the men, the women. Of shut your mouth, sing your music, because when you're in this space, there is no room for that. So that kind of became a story of like, all right, well, I'm not going to speak about politics because those things can happen, because they were like completely wiped off the grid until then, like 2016. And that happened in like the 90s or early 2000s. And then they came back in 2016. That's how long it took for them to now build back their reputation with a new generation. So it's like, okay, maybe that was like the cancel culture before cancel culture was like a thing.
Yeah.
But
that's when also before cancel culture was a thing, like things like that, like people felt how they felt and stood on business. Now
for sure,
you can't I just think there's very few cases where you can actually like fully cancel someone and be successful with it. Like
valid.
The example you gave, like the Dixie Chicks did what they did. They were canceled. Now they took years to build back up their empire, their fans, their industry, and now like then they had come back. But it's like it won't ever be the same of how it was. Now your audience is different, like everything's different. But now I just feel like, especially with social media, it's so hard to do.
Right. And I think there's a difference between being stifled. I'm not talking about being stifled and saying like, oh, you can't say anything. But I do think it's a good warning of like, make sure you're thinking before you speak. That's what I'm saying. I'm not saying to be stifled, because I do believe like, you know, say what you feel. But you also have to be ready for those repercussions. You have to expect if you post something, people are probably not going to like it. So it's like, don't act surprised when you've seen history and how it kind of comes back to bite you in the ass. And then that's what you're dealing with. So like, don't act surprised. So I don't know. I think it does go both ways, and I think it's a very fine line. I think there's a lot of gray area.
Yeah.
But I
think a lot of it's unclear.
Yeah. But I also think like, if you're going one way, reverse it and just see how it looks. There's so many things that you could reverse, and it's like, oh, well, you'd get canceled for that. Okay, but why are we canceling them then? For the exact same thing, but it just doesn't fit the narrative. It's just not fitting what the media and the politics and what the majority is saying, so that's why you can't say it. So I'm not talking about being stifled, but I think just thinking before you speak and expecting the repercussions is what I'm saying.
And I think like even, I know we talked about her last episode, Alex Earl, and recently her sister Ashton reposted something of President Trump, and people were like, oh my God, like they support Trump, like blah, 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 this, that, and the third, like let's cancel them. But then it's like, okay, even if you don't agree with it, they're allowed to. They can support whoever they want. And Ashton's
and they're still going to get a check.
Exactly. And that's my thing. And Ashton's also, she's a senior in college just like us. Like, she probably her first time voting. She's still young. She's allowed to, like, she didn't ask to be famous. She's allowed to repost a TikTok if she thinks it's funny or she agrees with it or, like, whatever, like, the case may be. And now, like, you want to be like, oh, like, let's cancel her. Even if I do or don't agree with her, she's allowed to have her opinion. Like, she can't be canceled by the entire population now, take away her platform for stuff like that. And that's where I'm saying, like, I think it's silly. You don't have to agree with it, but honestly, she's not canceled.
But reverse it, though. This is what I'm talking about. This is exactly what I'm talking about. Reverse it. If she posted something of Kamala Harris, then all of a sudden it's like, oh, she's on our side. Oh, that's awesome. That's so cool. But no, because it's the other way, now you're going to cancel her. This is exactly what I'm talking about. If it's the other way, cancel her too. And say, oh, why is she posting anything about politics? Why is she posting anything? Like, that's the thing. If it doesn't fit the mold, then it's just, they're just not going to do anything about it. Even though she really has nothing to do with politics whatsoever, she's an influencer. Which comes back to, like, why do we care? Okay, so she posted something. Cool. But no, it's because it doesn't fit the right thing, so you got to cancel her.
But when you say, like, why do we care? Like, if, say, she reposted it, you didn't agree with it, are you going to stop watching her?
Me, personally, I'm not that type of personality. I don't care enough, but I know there are people who would.
Yeah.
I don't care enough, but there are people who I've heard say, oh, that one supports that one. I'm not listening to their music anymore.
Well, that's where I think we do agree on this in a certain sense, because when I'm saying too extreme, that's what I mean. Like, you don't have to agree with someone. They're not saying anything wrong or doing something harmful or false by reposting a TikTok saying they like Trump. They have their freedom of speech, whatever they want to do. They can do that as long as it's true and it's not harming anyone. They can do what they want. Right. They can have their opinion. But like, if I didn't, or if I did agree with her, whatever which way it was, it wouldn't stop me from watching her.
Right. But I think there's also things too, like, I'm not going to go make a big stink about it and be like, I'm not listening to this one. I'm not watching this one anymore, because I'm not like that.
Yeah.
But I mean, there are things where I've been like, yeah, I'm not too happy about that. I'm not going to really endorse that anymore. I'm not going to absorb that kind of content.
And that's why I think we also like agree in the same sense on that, because it depends on the situation. It's a hard topic to kind of go back and forth about in general, when it really does depend on a situation.
Right. Because there really is, like, it's hard with our other debates to say, like, we've said, like, yes, no. This one is a hard one to say yes or no.
It's very much more, it's situational, I feel like. And that's where there may be some we agree on, there may be some we don't agree on. It just depends on maybe how we feel on certain things.
Right.
That's why I'm saying in my example before, like with my house and they try to discuss it, no matter what side it is and no matter what side I'm on, I'm just saying, yeah. Even with Instagram, I won't post a thing. I won't like a thing because I don't care what you think. You don't need to know what I think. And it does nothing but cause issues.
Right. It's really just harmful, because then it's like you almost question like just the entire like society that we're in.
Yeah.
Because it's like, do you really hate somebody you don't know that much that you feel you have to go post about it? Or you're going to lose a friend because they think differently than you? Because this is what happens too. It lasts for leading up to the election day, the inauguration day, and what? We're all going about our lives. We're all going to work. We're all going to school, doing our everyday things. Does it really matter?
Yeah.
Does it really matter? It's a tough one.
It is.
And this is why we come on here to hash it out.
It's situational. And like, even if we don't agree, you guys don't need to agree with your friends. It doesn't mean you guys can't be friends. Even going back to like everyone believes what they see, I think that also ties into like the fact that like with cancel culture, if everyone's saying cancel this person, like people are gonna hop on that bandwagon not knowing what they did, why they're being canceled, what's the context, like what it's about. People just follow what they see because they don't want to make other people upset, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Even influencers, I feel like, even if they don't believe it, I'm convinced certain influencers, even if they don't believe or agree with certain things, they'll like talk about it just because they know they have the platform and they need to talk about it, or everyone in the comments will be like, why haven't you talked about this? Why haven't you talked about that?
I do agree with that. That I do agree with, because then I think they just have no idea what they're talking about.
Yeah, so then because if they don't say it, then everyone's in their comments, why aren't you talking about this? Why? But then if they do say it, now someone might not agree with it. That person believes that, cancel.
And this is where...
Where's the line?
This is where it comes with like the responsibility of using your platform and using your voice as well, and being aware of the repercussions. You can't win either way, because then that one person will sneak in the comments and start a whole other movement. It gets really, really out of hand. And I think that's why we could like talk circles around this topic.
Yeah.
You know, people they don't think before they post. And if they think one way and they don't think the other, it's like, oh, you're canceled. But we're not going to cancel that person who did the exact same thing because they are part of our group, or they believe what I believe, or they're from where I'm from. So I think that's why it just needs to have a little bit more of a common ground rather than like there's rules to cancel culture.
Yeah. We're going to do our snubbed or dubbed segment where we picked 3 people and brands who were canceled and why. And we're going to say if it's snubbed, we don't agree with why they were canceled, or dubbed, we do agree. So first is James Charles. We got into it a little before. He got canceled for promoting a competitive brand of his friend Tati Westbrook, and which then made her want to make the video Bye Sister, where she exposed him for saying disgusting sexual comments at one of their parties, like Sam said before. So I'm going to go with dubbed.
That they should have been canceled.
Yeah. Well, I think if we're just looking at the competitive brand aspect and like that's what made her mad, then like that's silly. But there are definitely other things that he should be canceled for. I think he's weird.
Yeah, I think dubbed. I think he should have been canceled just because of the way that whole thing unfolded. I think it just showed his true colors a lot. And I think he made himself out to be such like a fun loving, just kind of probably like a safe space for a lot of people to go watch videos. I mean, I know I used to like learn how to do makeup from him. And then after that, I was like, I don't really like his character. So I think that was dubbed. I think he should have been canceled for that.
Shane Dawson is the second one. He was canceled for racial slurs, blackface, and making sexual jokes about minors. I'm going dubbed again. I never liked him, never watched his videos, couldn't tell you one conspiracy he's ever came up with. I think he's just like a weird guy.
Yeah, I'm going to say dubbed. That's just too much. Like once you go into like minor territory, that's just too much.
Yeah.
Like better. Like
and
you're
he's
a grown adult.
Yeah, exactly. Like he wasn't like a little teen. Like he was like older already.
Yeah, I just think that's weird because I think that's another thing where like they try to go to the extreme, and then I think that totally backfired. Yeah, I don't like that.
And then the brand we chose was Urban Outfitters. This was like a really big thing. They were canceled for culture appropriation during the Black Lives Matter movement. They tried to like make a shirt that was supposed to be like supporting it, but they didn't really realize exactly what was on the shirt, and it was like completely the opposite of what was like what Black Lives Matter stood for. So I'm gonna say dubbed, but that's another thing where it's like they're still in business. The Black Lives Matters movement was how long ago, and like when it started, how long ago, and they're still in business.
Yeah, honestly, I may get canceled for this. I'm gonna say snubbed. I think maybe they shouldn't have gotten canceled for that because, like, man, they were trying. The world at that time. Let's go back to this. I'm sure this was probably around 2020, right?
Yeah.
2020. There was a global pandemic. People were dying like every single day. People were home. When businesses were trying to come back, there's this whole Black Lives Matter movement, which was just so out of hand. Cities were being burned down. People were rioting. Man, they're trying to show their support. How are they going to win? When your Black Lives Matter movement backfires at a predominantly white company and then they call it cultural appropriation, why do you think? Because their demographic doesn't cater to that type of movement because the world is forcing them to. So I'm going to say snubbed for that one. They shouldn't have gotten canceled because that's just ridiculous. Everybody's just kind of looking for something, I think, at that point. And they're, like you said, they're still in business. Sure. Maybe their sales dropped for about a month, but here they are back again, still selling the Urban Outfitters corset 5 years later. So yeah. I think that's going to conclude our snubbed or dubbed.
That does conclude our snubbed or dubbed. Thank you so much for listening to the 3rd episode. Remember to follow us on Instagram at takeit.or.leaveitpodcast.
Thanks for listening.